everyone, and welcome to TWF NXT. I am Gorilla Monsoon, here with Samoeus and with the Jackal. And today on NXT, we're going to see, the TWF Hard Made Winnings on stake, which has been won by Masco yesterday when Masco beat Mankind. Now we'll see if Masco can keep his TWF hard-made winnings, Gorilla Monsoon says. You're right, Samoa says. Yesterday on Monday Night Raw, or Alone Tonight Raw, we saw Masco beat Mankind for the TWF hard-made winnings. And we wonder who Masco's going to be facing here today, Samoa says. Oh, I don't know, the Jackal says. I mean, I was never a big follower of Masco or his work. I never watched the Power Players or the Might Players show, so I don't really know that much about him. Except, he was selling Ollies, so you know that much about him. The Jackal says. Well, we're going to see Masco here today on NXT, Gorilla Monsoon says. And I tell you what, Jackal, your mind and your mindset is worrying me. What do you mean? The Jackal says. I mean, I'm not a big follower of Masco. Who can like anyone who wears a hide? And yeah, I never saw the Might Player show. So no, I don't know who he is. But I think he's kind of dumb. But at the end of the day, I think he's kind of dumb. No one can't be that wise if they're wearing a hide, the Jackal says. Would you stop, Gorilla Monsoon says, being a creep, saying mean things about Masco? It's so shameful you gotta behave that way. Well, let's go to the show now. Let's go to ring now. All right, Masco says. I want to know who wants to face me for who wants to fight me for the TWF hard-made winnings, which I won yesterday by beating Mankind. So I went to Astronema, the matchmaker and the overseer of the TWF, and she said, pick anyone you want to pick. So, I have an open dare. If someone wants to take me up on it, here I am. Alright, Masco. I guess I'll take you up on it. And I know I can't stand up very well. I know I can't stand up very well unless I'm here. And Masco, if you think you're man enough, I know that I haven't won any winnings in my time in the TWF, Edward Collins says. And I've been in TWF since 2020 when I came from the Vinland Thrift Middle. So, why don't you start putting all your toys in the ring, or I call them weapons, and I'll show you that I'm going to beat you. Alright. So the bloodsucker for soul wants to take me up on the dare. Oh, well that's alright. Like I said, I'm going to take up all dares. Take up all dares, Masco says. Well, this is for the TWF hard-made winnings. First, he is Edward Collins. And he is the TWF hard-made fighter, Masco. Well, Gorilla Monsoon says it's the first time that someone from the Might Players drawing show meets someone from the Twilight show, which films, I guess, books. Gorilla Monsoon says, and Edward Collins right now going right after Masco and knocking him down. I mean, Gorilla Monsoon says,
See you later.
See you later too, Mom. While Gorilla Monsoon says, we never thought that a bloodsucker for soul would want to go for the TWF hard-made winnings. Well, first off, Samoa said, as a bloodsucker with a soul, you gotta be bad rear, you know? Samoa says. And it takes that kind of man or woman to do it. And the last time we saw him, Samoa said, it takes that kind of man or kind of woman with the mindset to even go in these kind of matches. Well, the last time we saw Edward Collins, the Jackal says, he was getting beat up by Jinder Mahal. So I don't know why you're so happy to see him, the Jackal said. You know he's going to take a loss. And he seems to be what some folks would say boring when it comes to being a self. Would you be earnest? Edward Collins isn't boring at all, Gorilla Monsoon says. You know, he's an outstanding young man who, yes, he's a bloodsucker of a soul. Yeah, made of films and books made him look the way he looks. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't call him boring, Gorilla Monsoon says. Jackal. Well, I tell you one thing, Samoa says. If Edward Collins wins the TWF hard-made winning, Samoa says, what would that make him? Yeah. Well, we won't know, will we, Gorilla Monsoon says, what'll make him or not. All we know is that he didn't win it yet. And now, the Fight Lord hasn't been in the ring the whole time, Gorilla Monsoon says. Well, Edward Collins getting ready, Gorilla Monsoon says, to win the TWF hard-made winnings. But Masco got him. He dropped him down with the might slam. Sandbags to the chest. And that gate put on him. It's over. Yeah, you know, bloodsuckers can still feel ache. Only knowing Edward Collins, it'd be a good thing they did more of that to him, the Jackal says. It might give him a self. Oh, would you be earnest? Gorilla Monsoon says with that stuff. Jackal, stop saying shameful things about Edward Collins. 1, 2, 3. Ding ding ding. Here is your winner, and still the TWF hard-made fighter, Masco. Well, Gorilla Monsoon says Masco is still a TWF hard-made fighter by beating Edward Collins here today on NXT, Gorilla Monsoon says. And I wonder if Edward Collins and Masco are going to wrestle again, Gorilla Monsoon says. Well, it's only a needed time, Samoa says, until we see Masco wrestle some more folks. And Edward Collins, he put on a good match. Well, I'm not going to be giving the bloodsucker with a soul any onlook. You know, Edward Collins doesn't got much of a self. And that's why they didn't really like the books or the films. Because everybody else had some kind of self and he didn't. Came off as boring and no one really liked him. Well, you know, Gorilla Monsoon says, you always got some kind of scathing thing to say about someone. Always got some shameful and mean thing to say about someone. You ever heard, if you got nothing kind to say, don't say anything at all? But we all know, Jackal, you're not going to follow that, are you? Anyway, I do know Tony Schiavone is now going to talk with Masco. Alright, Gorilla Monsoon, I'm going to talk with Masco now, the TWF hard-made fighter. Alright, Masco, It's only been 24 spans since you beat Mankind and became the TWF Hard-Made Fighter. Oh yes, Tony Schiavone. I know that being a TWF Hard-Made Fighter is not smooth. And yes, I beat Mankind yesterday. And I thought, hey, why is the TWF Hard-Made winnings not always shown all the time? I don't know, but I'm going to shift that. So yes, I beat Edward Collins. Some folks say he's boring. I don't think he is. I mean, I saw some of the Twilight films. Alright, I didn't read any of the books. Anyway, if Edward Collins wants to have another match with me, well, he is welcome to it. Well, Masco, some of us here in the TWF didn't think you were going to beat Mankind. You did. And we didn't know if you were going to beat Edward Collins, but you did. So does that mean that someday Mankind or Edward Collins is going to ask for another match with you? Like I said, Tony Schiavone, if Edward Collins or Mankind or anyone wants to wrestle me or fight me for the TWF Hard-Made winnings, well, they know I'm open-minded to the match, to the fight. Well, that's my talk with Masco. Back to you, Gorilla Monsoon. Well, thank you, Tony Schiavone, for talking with Masco here today on NXT. And this is all the time we got here for NXT. I am Gorilla Monsoon for Samoas and a Jackal. We hope you like NXT, and we'll see you tomorrow for Dynamite or Might.